Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Jamaica reports new record high 527 COVID cases in 24 hours, 3 deaths. Jamaica recorded its highest number of COVID-19 cases, with 527 cases reported across the island, according to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The newly confirmed COVID-19 cases bring the total number of cases on the island to 25,303. There were 3 additional COVID-19 deaths on Friday, bringing the overall coronavirus death toll in Jamaica to 446. The deceased are a 91-year-old female and a 48-year-old male, both from St. Anne, and a 76-year-old male from St. Catherine, whose death was previously under investigation. Of note, the death of another COVID-19 patient is under investigation. There were 147 recoveries recorded on the day, bringing the overall tally to 14,159. Of the newly confirmed cases, 315 are female and 212 are males, with ages ranging from 1 year to 95 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 149, St. Catherine 98, St. James 76, Clarendon 51, St. Thomas 30, Manchester 26, St. Anne 18, Portland 17, Hanover 15, St. Elizabeth 14, Trelawney 14, Westmoreland 10, and St. Mary 9. There are 29 moderately ill patients and 30 critically ill patients among the 10,469 active cases now under observation in Jamaica. Security guard charged for killing woman over garbage. A 56-year-old security guard has been charged with the murder of a woman following a dispute between the two over garbage in Carlton Mountain in Claremont, St. Anne on Tuesday. Leroy Martin, alias Biggie, a resident of Carlton Mountain, has been charged with the murder of Navargia Gray. In addition, he has been charged with 2 counts of wounding with intent and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, stemming from the shooting of 2 other persons during the incident. Reports are that about 11 a.m., Martin and his neighbors, including Gray, got into a dispute over garbage scattered by their dogs. The incident reportedly infuriated the man, and an argument developed between him and Gray, along with 2 other occupants of her household. The man reportedly left and returned with a gun, with which he opened fire, hitting Gray and 2 others. He then fled the scene. The wounded persons were assisted to the hospital, where Gray died. The other persons were admitted for treatment. Martin was arrested on Wednesday and charged after a question and answer interview in the presence of his attorney. His court date is being finalized, the police reported. Teenager charged with stabbing cop 14 times on highway. A 16-year-old boy has been charged with allegedly stabbing a policeman some 14 times in an encounter between the two on the Maypen leg on the PJ Patterson Highway last Sunday. The identity of the teenager was not released because of his age. He has been charged with wounding with intent, assault with intent to rob, and illegal possession of firearm. According to the police, the teenager was charged following a caution statement that he provided to the police, in which he allegedly admitted to the crimes. He is to appear in court on Tuesday, March 9. It was reported that sometime after 3 a.m. last Sunday, the cop, who is stationed in St. Catherine, was on his way to work when he picked up a puncher on the toll highway. Further reports are that while the officer was changing the tire, he was pounced upon by an armed man. During an altercation, the lawman, while being viciously stabbed, managed to disarm the attacker of a legal firearm and subsequently drove himself to hospital for emergency treatment. His attacker managed to escape, but following an intense police probe, the suspect was arrested and later charged. Gunman disarmed and shot while trying to rob store in Westmoreland. A gunman is nursing gunshot wounds in the hospital after a failed robbery at a store on White House Main Road in Westmoreland on Saturday, March 6. Reports from the White House police are that about 2 a.m., the store manager went to investigate a sound coming from the front of the store. he was met by an armed man pointing a pistol in his direction. A struggle developed, and the store manager reported they managed to disarm the man and open gunfire at him. The store manager then called the police and handed over the gunman an Taurus 9mm pistol along with 13 9mm rounds. The gunman was assisted to the hospital where he was admitted on the police guard for treatment. Investigations are ongoing. 16-year-old held, gun seized minutes after promoter is killed in Portmore. The quick response of the St. Catherine South Police led to the arrest of a 16-year-old suspect and the seizure of a firearm less than an hour after the murder of 43-year-old promoter Ron Martin, otherwise called Roger, at the McPherson's Drive, Old Brayton in Portmore, St. Catherine on Friday, March 5th. Reports from the Portmore Police are that about 2:30 p.m., Martin was attending a funeral service at a church when a Nissan Latio motor car drove up. 3 males, one of them the teenage suspect, reportedly exited the motor car, shot Martin several times, and then flee the scene in the car. A police team that was at the location to enforce aspects of the Disaster Risk Management Act saw what unfolded and pursued the gunmen. The lawmen intercepted the motor car in the Greater Portmore area. 2 of the men escaped, but the teen was held, and a Springfield 9mm pistol and a magazine containing 1 round were seized. Search for the other 2 men continues. Expect delay in service delivery at some MLSS parish offices. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security is advising the public that persons utilizing services from the ministry may experience delays at some of its offices. The ministry, in a release, said the increase of the number of COVID-19 cases island-wide and the implementation of the new orders on the Disaster Risk Management Act has negatively impacted the level of staffing within the offices. To facilitate the submission of applications for national insurance benefits and life certificates, a drop box has been provided at the parish office locations. Customers are encouraged to utilize the drop boxes wherever they are provided, the release from the ministry stated. The ministry also apologizes for the inconveniences caused by this development. We urge everyone to continue to observe the COVID-19 protocols and stay safe during this period, the release stated. Cays to remain closed until March 24. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, has advised that all Cays will remain closed until March 24, with the exception of the Morant and Pedro Cays, which fall under the Morant and Pedro Cays Act of 1971. The ODPEM said no activities should take place at these locations as the country continues to take steps to reduce the spread of COVID-19. It also reminded the public that breaches of the protocols attract a fine of up to $1 million. Meanwhile, ODPEM said the Jamaica Defense Force Coast Guard and the Jamaica Constabulary Force Marine Police will continue to rigorously monitor the case and all other locations to enforce the laws and ensure that the public is conforming to the established measures. Concerns remain about light sentence for gun-related offenses. More than a week after a St. Anne's man was given a 9-month sentence for illegal possession of firearm and illegal possession of ammunition, the disquiet and anger among some police officers across the island linger on. Jamar Bartley of Steertown, St. Anne, is to only serve 1 month of his sentence as he was in custody for 8 months prior to pleading guilty. It is ludicrous for a man to serve just 1 month in jail for a firearm, commented one member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force who asked not to be named for fear of being reprimanded for speaking on the sentence. You think criminals are going to take the justice system serious when a man with a gun gets 9 months in prison and now you hear him only going to spend 1 month? A joke thing a go on, the officer said in frustration recently. His sentiments were similar to those of other officers who are contending that Bartley is a member of a criminal organization in St. Anne. Bartley was reportedly found with an illegal firearm and ammunition during a joint police-military operation in St. Anne in July last year. He was subsequently arrested and charged. Further, Officers have questioned the perceived light sentence given to him by the St. Anne Parish Court judge on Tuesday, February 23rd. A day after those sentiments were echoed, Chief Justice Brian Cays, while admitting that he had no issue with criticisms leveled against judges, insisted that persons must have all the information before we criticize. In relation to comments regarding Bartley being a gang member, Skykes emphasized that there is no charge as alleged gangster. According to the news report, the police are reportedly upset because of the light sentence. The point is that there is no offense known as alleged gangster, Skykes then declared. He was addressing a contract signing at the Justice Ministry for the construction of a family court in St. Anne. In continuing, Skykes pointed out that there is a statute called Criminal Justice Suppression of Organizations Act, and if the police are of the view that they have sufficient evidence to convince a court of the requisite standard that this person is indeed a member of a criminal organization, then that is the charge that ought to be laid, and then the person would have been tried and placed before a judge of the Supreme Court. But the judge at the parish court can't take account of allegations that are unsubstantiated. Despite those arguments from the Chief Justice, at least 2 officers are still questioning the sentencing and the signal it has sent to other criminals. You plead guilty to a gun crime. Why can't you, the convict, do a reasonable time? Quizzed a senior police investigator. 9 months in prison, whether we want to admit it or not, is a slap on the wrist. We must also ask ourselves, what are other criminals saying about this sentence? This 9-month sentence won't deter criminals, he stated. Another lawman asked similar questions. His concerns, however, surrounded the backlash police face from such sentences that are perceived as slap on the wrist. The thing is, criminals a look and a laugh. Them a go say, "Cho, can have a gun and plead guilty, so me can do it too," and nothing. And now, this sentence alone, many other men out a road a plead guilty and I get 1 year, 2 year and 3 year sentence for evil manslaughter. Police must hurt, cause we get blame when crime a rage out of control, we people call on to save them from gunman. So don't bash us when all we face for the cussing about this type of light sentence here for gun offenses and other crimes, he argued. The lawman also called on the government to strengthen the island's gun laws by imposing stiffer penalties for those convicted of such breaches. The government need to step up too and do what them have to do. Help crime fighting with some strong law where a man will think twice before taking illegal gun in his hand, the cop suggested. Amid those concerns, Chief Justice Brian Skykes stressed at the time that the parish court judges have certain limits in handing down a sentence. Furthermore, this is legislation that indicates that where the person has entered a plea, then discount ought to be taken into account, and interestingly, the report does not indicate any long list of previous convictions of any kind, so it would appear even on this report that this gentleman Bartley may very well have been, as far as the court is concerned, a first offender with no previous conviction he shared. And he, Bartley, is in a court that has a limit placed upon its sentencing, and the gentleman has been in custody for some 8 months. So all of those are factors that the judge would have to take into account, Skykes elaborated. Under the Firearms Act, a parish court judge can sentence an individual convicted of illegal possession of a prohibited weapon to the imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 5 years. In the circuit court, a convicted individual can be sentenced to imprisonment for life with or without hard labor. The circle closes, Wailers together again in Zion. When Cedella Marley, CEO of Tough Gang International, commented an attribute to the late Bunny Wailer with throwback photos of the famous Wailers thriller on the Bob Marley Instagram page, it was one of the few times in recent years that an elder member of the Marley clan had made reference to the original incarnation of the band publicly. Sending love to the Livingston family as Bunny Wailer makes his transition, a founding member of the Wailers and a reggae icon in his own right, he will be missed but not forgotten. Live for yourself and you will live in vain. Live for others and you will live again. in the kingdom of Jah, man shall reign, pass it on, rest in power. The comment was repost of the original message on the Bob Marley page and was accompanied by a decades-old picture of Bunny Wailer by himself and an iconic 1967 picture of all three bald-headed Wailers dressed in suits, a photo that preceded the era when they embraced Rastafari and started growing dreadlocks. Bunny Wailer and the Marley clan had been at loggerheads for years. Wailer was known to the performed Marley's classic One Love in his own set, but conflicts with the Marley estate over royalties and the merchandising of Tough Gang and the licensing of its iconic logo led to deep divisions. Tough Gang is the labeled Wailer started with Peter Tosh and Marley, and its logo with three iconic race fits representing the original Toriko. According to Billboard in 1999, the parties reached a $2 million settlement in the 1992 trademark lawsuit filed by Bunny Wailer and the estate of Peter Tosh. Under the agreement, according to a Billboard article, the Marley family gained control of the name and logos of the band's Tough Gang record label, though Wailer and the Tosh estate are allowed to use one of the logos, Marley family lawyer Peter has disclosed at the time. Wailer and Tosh also were paid back royalties that had been withheld pending resolution of the suit, Peter added. Marley died of cancer in 1981. Tosh was murdered in the house robbery in 1987. Bunny Wailer passed away on March 2nd at the Medical Association Hospitals in St. Andrew. On Tosh's social media page, a picture of a young Peter and Bunny lighting up a spliff was posted along with the caption, "Rest in power, Bunny Wailer, aka Neville, a true reggae icon and Jamaican legend, a brother, a father, an uncle, a friend. His contribution to reggae music will live on forever." Stephen Marley, Bob Marley's son, made what was a repost, but it also included the familiar connection to the Marleys. A founding member of the Wailers, Bob's stepbrother, and a reggae icon in his own right. Bunny Wailer's father and Bob Marley's mother had a relationship which produced a daughter named Pearl, sister to both Bob and Bunny. Ziggy was 5 years old and Stephen, a 1-year-old toddler, when Get Up Stand Up appeared on the Wailers' 1973's Burning album, the last to feature all three founding members, so this outpouring of respect represents the closing of a circle, the end of a generation. Ziggy Marley went into the archives and posted a pictorial tribute to Bunny Wailer, even pulling a verse from Bunny Wailer's song, Pass It On. "What your hands do, it's your own eyes that have seen, so won't you judge your actions to make sure the results are clean? Be not selfish in your doings, pass it on." As we share memories, we say a blessed spiritual journey on Jabi, Wailers live on, Peter, Bob and Bunny, the post read. Bunny Wailer had made contributions to Damian Marley's Grammy-winning 2001 album, Halfway Tree, where he offers a spoken intro for educated fools. Wailer also contributed to Damian's Welcome to Jamrock with Wailer's spoken passage on confrontation, which was a rebuke of war. Both albums were produced by Stephen Marley. On the official page of the current reggae group, which tours as the Wailers, it was announced, "His life was a blessing and his memories remained a treasure. Loved beyond words and missed beyond measure, a true icon legend, never to be forgotten, rest well King." Julian Marley, who is now on a tour with the Wailers, also hailed Bunny Wailer. Still, there are questions. The matriarch of the Marley clan, Rita Marley, notable, but not officially posted anything on the Wailer, arguably one of the most enigmatic figures in reggae music history and with whom she openly feud. Bunny loved Rita. He protected Rita from Bob. He loved Bob, so by extension, he had to love Rita, Stewart said. Bunny was a complicated figure. After leaving the Wailers in 1974, after the one true Wailers tour of England and the United States, he embarked on a solo recording career that established him as one of the most compelling voices in reggae. Wailer launched his own label, Solomonic, in the early 70s and his 1976 solo debut Blackheart, considered one of reggae's magnus opus, set the stage for other masterpieces such as his next two albums, Protest and Struggle, which featured strong Pan-American themes. He is the most underappreciated and most enigmatic of the Wailers, as he didn't enjoy the commercial successes of Peter and Bob. He didn't do his first tour outside of Jamaica until 1986, which probably led to him being regarded as a cult figure icon rather than a commercial star. But through it all, he persevered. Rest in peace. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.